Anthropic just dropped a report that changed everything I thought about my role as a senior developer. 40% of all code is now written by AI. Would you believe that? And Gartner is saying by the end of this year, 2026, that number will hit 60%. But here's the thing, this is not the AI will replace developers' typical panic video, which you can see right now on the internet. This is actually the opposite, because when I read this report, I didn't feel fear, I felt clarity. And for the first time, I understood what my job actually is right now in this AI coding tools era. Let's dive deeper. Hi there, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Daniel Noworyta and I'm a programmer. And on this channel, I show strategies and tools useful for learning programming, using AI tools effectively, and developing your career in the IT industry. And today I want to share my thoughts about this new Anthropic report that completely reframed how I see the developer role nowadays. So let's dive in. So I always wanted to be as close as possible to the end users. Yes, that's why I became a software developer. Not because I loved typing syntax, because I wanted to solve real problems for real people. And I wanted to hear them, I wanted to meet them, I wanted to understand what they struggle with, and then build something that actually helps them solving their problems. And for many years, honestly, most of my time was spent not doing that. Most of my time was spent writing boilerplate, debugging edge cases, setting up configurations, and fighting with those build tools. And yes, the stuff that keeps you far away from the user and close to the terminal actually. And that was frustrating, I would say. But something recently shifted, and this Anthropic report, the 2026 Agentic Coding Trends Report, it put words on what I was already feeling in last months. So let me share something from this report that really surprised me. Engineers are using AI nowadays in roughly 60% of their work. Yes, 60%. But this is the part that matters. They report being able to fully delegate only from 0 to 20% of their tasks. So think about that for a second. 60% AI assisted, but only up to 20% fully handed off to coding agents. So what's happening, my dear viewers, is collaboration, active collaboration. You are not just pressing a button and walking away somewhere, but you are setting up the task, you are prompting, you are supervising, you are validating. Nevertheless, you are also using your judgment, especially for high stakes work, if you're using AI coding agents. So the paradox is this: AI is involved in more of your work than ever, but you, the human, you are more involved, not less. Yes, the work changed, but the need for your brain didn't go away. It just shifted slightly. And I'm using those tools in practice every day. And I can tell you, the moment you think you can just hand everything off, that's the moment when things break. The senior developer's job isn't gone anyway. It's actually harder in some ways, I would say, because now you need to know what good output looks like without having written every line by yourself. So here's another thing from the report that hit me really. They said engineers are becoming more full stack in their capabilities rather than being replaced. And yes, and this is exactly what I have been feeling in last months since I'm using AI coding tools. Before, I was a front-end developer, or you were a front-end developer, or a back-end developer, or DevOps engineer. You stayed in your lane, you had your specialization, you had your field of expertise. Actually, that was your identity, because so it was also my identity. I was a front-end developer. I didn't identify myself as a front-end developer, but I had always this dream becoming full stack. I was also building backend stuff, staying within TypeScript ecosystem. But now AI fills the knowledge gaps. And if I need to do something on the backend that I'm not deeply experienced with, I can work with an AI and it fills in the technical details while I provide the direction, the architecture, the judgment. So same with databases, same with infrastructure. It doesn't matter right now because this expertise shifted if you have AI coding tools next to you. So in my opinion, the specialist silo is dying. Yes, and not because specialization doesn't matter. I think you still need hard knowledge in specific areas, of course, but the wall between front-end person and back-end person, that wall is coming down because AI makes it possible for one engineer to work effectively across the entire stack, from business requirement through the database to the API layer, up to the UI front-end specific stuff, so UI UX. For me personally, this is actually exciting because it means I can spend less time waiting for another team to implement something, and I can spend more time actually solving the problem end to end, closer to the user, closer to the real problem, which I think that was what I always wanted. So let me tell you about something from this report that I think most developers are not paying attention to yet. The report says that domain experts, the people who actually understand the problems deeply, are starting to build solutions themselves without waiting for a development team, without filling in ticket in Jira, without filling in this, going through this whole process, without sitting in a queue for weeks. Actually, domain experts nowadays, they can start build solutions next to the users. And think about what that means for us developers. The lawyer who understands the contract review process better than any developer ever could now they can build a workflow to automate it themselves. Other example, the marketing person who knows exactly what dashboard they need. They don't need to explain it to an engineer and wait 3 sprints. They can just build it. This is happening right now. The report mentions Anthropic's own legal team reduced marketing review turnaround from 2 to 3 days, from 2 to 3 days down to 24 hours. A lawyer with no coding experience built self-service tool using Cloud Code. Yes, this is happening right now. So the bottleneck isn't code anymore. The bottleneck was always the gap between this person who understands the problem and the person who can build the solution. That was always this gap which we had to fill as an engineers. And AI is closing that gap, and that changed everything about how companies work, not just engineering. I would say everything. The whole processes, they have to reinvent themselves. And honestly, as a developer myself, this doesn't scare me. It excites me because it means the problems that actually need a senior engineer, the hard architectural decisions, the complex system design, the security reviews, those get more of my attention right now because the ticket queue gets shorter because the simple stuff gets solved by the people who actually own the problem. So let me tell this. I would be lying if I said I'm not worrying about something. I think there is this line in the report. One of the engineers they interviewed said, "I'm primarily using AI in cases where I know what the answer should be or should look like. I developed that ability by doing software engineering the hard way." So let's think about this. Yes, read that again. The hard way. He can judge AI output because he spent years writing code without AI. He knows what to correct look like because he built it himself, line by line, bug by bug, he get the experience. So here's my concern nowadays. If junior developers today are skipping the hard part, if they are letting AI write everything from day one, I'm asking myself, where does the judgment come from in 5 years? Who reviews the agents? Who catches the architectural mistakes that the AI confidently presented as a correct? We have to face those questions as an organization and as an industry. And it's not just the juniors I worry about, it's the companies who are thinking right now like, why do we need junior developers? AI can do that work. Yes, I understand the logic, but I think in a few years those companies will wake up in a completely different environment. They will feel the cost of not investing in junior developers earlier, because those junior developers, those juniors were supposed to become the seniors who govern the agents later on the line. And if that pipeline is empty, I would say I don't have easy answers for this one. What those companies will do, what we as a whole industry will do. The report itself says it clearly. I mean, engineers can only fully delegate up to 20% of tasks. The other 80% needs human judgments, and that judgment doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from experience, from doing it the hard way, from writing lines of code. So I'm always trying to leave you with something, and what do I think you should do right now? If you are a junior developer, I think don't skip the hard way. Yes, use AI tools, absolutely, get familiar with them, but try to build things from scratch too. Understand what's happening underneath, because the skill to judge AI output, that's the most valuable skill you can have right now. And if you add upon that like possibility to use those AI tools, you will be really hireable person, and you only get it by building things yourself first and then using AI along the way. And from other stuff, if you are in management position, think about this. If you are not hiring junior developers right now, ask yourself, is this really the right move for the next 5-10 years? Because the seniors who will govern your AI agents in 2028, 2029, 2030, they need to start learning now, and they need real projects, real feedback, real experience, I would say. So not just AI generated code. And for me personally, I'm going to try as much as I can to spread the knowledge about agentic coding within my company. I want to extend it beyond engineering, to empower also domain experts across all departments, because I'm using these tools in practice and I see what's possible. So let me finish this video with this. I became a developer because I wanted to solve real problems for real users. That was the dream. Not writing perfect syntax, not being the fastest typist. I wanted to be close to the user, understand their pain, and build something that helps them. And that dream, I think it's more alive now than it's ever been, because AI is handling the parts that keep me far away from the user, the boilerplate, the repetitive code, the setup and configuration, the stuff that ate like 80% of my time and gave 20% of the value. And I have this feeling that since I'm using AI tools really extensively, now I can focus on what actually matters. I can try to understand the problem more. I can try to design the right solution in broader spectrum. I can make like the judgment calls that AI still can't make, being closer to the user that I've ever been. Remember that AI cannot talk to your users. You have to talk to them. But then you can transform this knowledge, use an AI and your own skills to build something great. And the skills you build, they are not obsolete. They just changed what they are for. I think you still need them. not to write every line of code, but to know, is this code right? To know, is the architecture holds time? Is the architecture choices are correct or not? To know if this is actually solves the user's problem. And I think that fire, that one that made you want to build things, it's still there, and you can build more right now with AI tools. That's it. If you like this video, you will probably also like this playlist I've put together for you. It includes the most popular episode where I discuss how I'm using AI and how AI is changing our careers as developers. Yeah, what else? Thanks for listening. I wish you a nice day and see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Just as bad as you. Just as bad.